break my nuts. So fresh, suck my nuts.
How did an animal cause this extremely disgusting traffic jam? The culprit was a hagfish, a bunch of hagfish that were in the back of a truck, and when hagfish get stressed out, they do something really weird. Their body secretes just a teaspoon of this protein, but that teaspoon almost instantly expands to 10,000 times its size. Scientists found out this is a defense against predators. They got camera footage of a shark biting it and then just gagging as it instantly chokes on all that slime and has to spit it out and leave. The slime itself is extremely simple. Two components, protein and mucus. So the military has really been studying this stuff, trying to figure out how they can use this. It's also one of the softest materials ever measured. Jello is 10,000 to 100,000 times stiffer than this slime. And it's not even sticky. They get it off by tying themselves in a knot, sliding through, and it's all gone.
One of my favorite long-term experiments is the dark fly experiment. In 1954, a biologist at Kyoto University, Tsuyoshi Mori, took some regular old fruit fly eggs and put them into milk bottles. He put the milk bottles in pots and covered the pots with a dark cloth. Over the next 67 years, over 1,500 generations of fruit flies have been reared in complete darkness. Whenever they need to switch out vials or feed them, they do it in complete darkness and use a weak red light to check on them. The flies can't see red light because their eyes lack proteins that can absorb red. They actually look almost identical to regular fruit flies, but they have longer head bristles which they use as sensory organs and seem to be more sensitive to certain smells. They're also more successful at breeding in the dark. Dark flies laid 373 eggs in the dark, but classic flies laid only 293. And in mixed colonies over 49 generations, dark flies got more of their DNA into successive generations. In 2012, the third successor to the experiment sequenced the genome of the dark fly and compared it to the classic. They found 220,000 single-point mutations in 4,700 locations in the genome where a stretch of DNA had been inserted or deleted. Altogether, that's about 5% alteration from the wildlife strain.
Really good news in the science world, and we don't get that all that often, especially dealing with critically endangered animals, so let's talk about what's happening to the saiga antelope. If you don't know much about the saiga, they're a really goofy looking antelope. They look straight out of the Star Wars world, and during the mating season, the males will actually wobble their head around, and the ones with the floppier noses, those are the ones the females select. So these have these really big gelatinous noses. During the Ice Age, saiga populations could be found all the way from Asia over through Beringia and into North America. But around 12,000 years ago, their ecosystem, the mammoth steppe, almost went extinct and their populations dwindled. Throughout the 70s and the 80s, the saiga population was well into the millions, 2-3 million even. However, once the Soviet Union broke up, the numbers plummeted and they decreased 95%. Better conservation practices were put into effect and they put a more harsh punishment on poaching, and by 2015 the numbers had increased again, well over 300,000. They weren't in the clear yet though. In 2015 there was a huge bacteria outbreak that greatly affected the population. It's been linked to climate change and it wiped out 200,000 of those 300,000. The final numbers showed about 65% of the population was wiped out in a matter of days. At this point, there was legit worry that this species would never recover, but 2 years later, they did another aerial estimate of the population and it came up to 152,000. So an increase in about 50,000. That's pretty good in 2 years. They did this again in 2019 and there were 334,000 total. The numbers were released for 2021 and it totaled 842,000. It's more than doubled since 2019 and that's something to be happy about.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
This is a live shark fetus. craziest thing I've ever seen.
So I thought I'd answer some questions you guys were asking about these baby tarantulas. First of all, yes, the mother was fertilized prior to me receiving her. My academic advisor keeps colonies of these guys, and she was kept in with at least one male sometime in the past. And the other question I saw a bunch was, what do I feed them? Well, if you see under this mass of spiders here, 3 or 4 of them are actually sharing a dead cricket. All I do is throw in, a pre-killed cricket, and they kind of swarm it. This is a communal species, and they will share meals together, which is super cool. Anyway, thank you guys all for the support, and I hope you'll continue watching.